Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass the Move. And for today's episode in our Tactical and Team Guide series, we are still in Spain, and in fact we're actually back in Madrid. Atletico Madrid, of course, the team we'll be looking into today. And as you can tell, once again, just to prove to you guys, I have done nothing. So I haven't prepared this in any way. I'm going to be going through it just as I would when I actually do start, a new team career, for example. Then yeah, this is just how I go through it. And the reason that I'm not planning for this is to just take you step by step how I would actually do it normally as well. So yeah, I mean, let's do it together. Let's go through it step by step. So one of the first things I do is actually have a look at my staff and see whose judgment I can trust. It looks like Miguel is the best person for this. You do have a very good assistant manager in German, or German, I don't even know what his name is, but Burgos. Miguel's a really good head of youth development as well. Maybe you could do a little bit better than him, but he's a decent one. He doesn't have working with youngsters, so that might be something to keep an eye on, of course. But do please consider your financial status. Apparently they're rich, but yet you don't have much balance in your team, and it looks like it's going to keep declining for a while. In fact, you don't even have much of a transfer budget. Looks like Atletico Madrid are a team on the decline. A bit of a worry, I guess. You'd think, due to recent success, to be much better off, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's poor management. And I don't mean actual literal manager. Of course, Diego Simón is a crazy good manager, but maybe it's the debts that are actually catching up to them. Either way, maybe we are set in for a tough tactical and team guide. Either way, we'll have to trust Miguel. So we can have a look at our tactics. The initial default setting is 4-2-3-1. Just as almost all the teams. It's actually getting a bit boring how many teams play with this 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, but what can I do if I'm doing a tactical team guide and they seem to be best up for this? I just kind of have to go with it. My assistant manager actually thinks that a 4-2-3-1 with defensive midfielders is a better shout. And I think you can, with this type of formation, you kind of can play a possession-based tactic as well as a direct style of play. But you just have to be very careful how you tweak it. So let's look at the squad. Let's see who's actually ready, who's suited for the team, ready for the team. I'm just going to get rid of all these players who have already gone out on loan, just for the sake of clearing up some clutter. Some decent players out on loan there, If you could call them back, that'd be pretty good. But anyways, 10 players on loan, and that leaves us with a squad of 22, perfect. So like I always mention in all my episodes, but once more I'll just mention it, I like to have a squad of 22 players. The reason being is the first 11 of leading or up to world-class ability, I guess, and then a backup 11 of youngsters with potential who would eventually become world-class players, and they would also be, they'd be learning from world-class players, so it's perfect. Doesn't look like there's any youngsters here who are ready for the first team. We did say we'd trust Miguel's opinion, and he looks like, nope, Nicholas is not ready. It's unlikely anyone else is ready, so I think we can just look at the squad, the first 11, and see who's not ready to be in the first 11, even though there is. So Alessio is only a decent player and unlikely to improve. I think they've just bought him though, so a bit awkward. They bought him a while ago and then signed him out loan. How much would he sell for? 4.5. Anyways, we'll talk about who to sell, who to keep later. We're just trying to see who is ready for the division. So it looks like, I think we're okay. I think everyone here should be decent enough for the first team, or ready enough anyways for the first 11. So this is what, the numbers we have to consider, the positions. It looks like, a 4-2-3-1's not a far shout. A 4-2-3-1 defensive midfielder is not a bad shout either. And maybe a 4-3-3 won't be a bad shout either. So let's look at our best 11, try and make a team out of that best 11, try and sort out a formation that way. It looks like Griezmann, left winger, attacking midfielder and a striker. Koke, left midfielder or a centre midfielder. Oblak, of course, one of the best goalkeepers, a lot of potential as well. Godin, just a central defender, can't expect more. Sol, anywhere back to centre defence. He doesn't do that role quite, he's quite good actually. He does, normally midfielders don't have good jumping, reach, heading or positioning, but he's got all three. His only missing is aggression. Gaetan, of course, everyone knows him by now, always linked with Manchester United, but he is a left winger initially. I think he is capable maybe playing an advanced playmaker role. Just saw the vision and he is quite well, just probably needs to get used to the position until he becomes a natural. Kevin Gamiro, just a normal striker, nowhere else really. Gabi, centre midfielder and defensive midfielder. Centre backs in Jose Gimenez, one of the centre backs of the future, I guess you could say. Steven Savic, I think former Manchester City centre back, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. But yeah, just a centre back, I guess, not anywhere else. And the right back, Simi or Saim, or I don't even know, but the Croatian right back, who's capable up to a right wing position. Not bad as a defensive winger, to be honest. Anyways, the reason why I check each player is because you have to try and see what positions they can actually play in as well. Don't just always trust your assistant manager's recommendation. This is, remember, our reports thing is just based on our assistant manager, so don't freak out if you're straying away from his recommendation. But anyways, yeah, if we consider this best 11, it actually looks like a 4-2-3-1 is our best bet. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, maybe if you retrain Griezmann as a right winger. Anyways, so I think we'll go with the 4-2-3-1, and I think I've done the 4-3-3 far too many times in previous episodes. If you just want to see how it's set up, you could probably do that. I don't think this Atletico Madrid team I think they do have decent players for 4-3-3, but I don't know. It just feels like you might be forcing it a little bit, and you won't necessarily be bringing out the best out of anyone. So Gabi is capable of playing a defensive midfielder, for example, but he's more comfortable as a central midfielder. So let's leave the 4-3-3 this time. If you need any references, the Madrid team and the Barcelona team both had it. And I think, again, we just have to stick with the 4-4-2. I don't think there's anything else you can really consider. Just bear in mind, these are just formations for this season. You can eventually start to build into a formation that you would prefer. But, there's a reason why these formations work at the same time. So 4-2-3-1 is a possession-based tactic. You would be better off playing as control because you're our top team in La Liga. But mentalities such as standard and counter are very suited for possession-based. You can use the extremes, of course, of defensive, contain, attacking, or overload. But again, if you're trying to play it safe, trying to be possession-based side, control, standard, and counter are your best bets. So we'll be going with control. And for the team instructions, simple as always: lower, shorter, be more expressive, and roam for positions are the instructions I recommend. It's only 4 instructions. I like to stay anywhere between the 3 to 5 number. But yeah, again, like I always say, if you're trying to be a lot more detailed, a lot more, getting your hands dirty, I guess, so to speak, then you can include more instructions such as retain possession, play out defense, work ball into the box are all very good shouts. You can even look for lower overlap, even though it's a bit excessive. Getting stuck in and tighter marking, as well as playing a higher line, closing down more. All of that sort of stuff is just for winning the ball back here. Playing a narrow team shape would also keep the players closer together, and that way you would keep possession a lot easier, I guess, so to speak. As well as being, secure at the back, I guess. If you keep a good team shape, then that means you would less likely lose the ball. But yeah, for the sake of the episode, we'll be using my instructions, which are as simple as always. I just want to point out, like I always point out, I've easily had 60% possession or more with these instructions, just as I had with the detailed instructions. So it's just about personal preferences really, and what type of players you're bringing in and what opponent you're facing as well. If you're playing a 4-3-3 and your opponent's playing a 4-3-3, it's a little bit more tough to keep possession. It's about quality too, so just bear that in mind. 4-4-2, if you're playing direct, counter and attacking is your best instructions or mentalities to use. But again, you can obviously use any of these other ones here. Don't think that you're limited to either one. Of course, control is more suited possession based, but if you did play a control direct style of play, you would still be okay. It's just that attacking and counter are your best ones. They just seem to suit it more. Just everything from the risk taking to the way you play as well, it just suits a bit more. And you can see it in the match engine. So simple as always, higher, more direct, be more expressive, and roam from positions are my suggestions again. But there are other things you could do. So run at defense, clear ball to flanks, you can get rid of roam from positions. And this is an amazing way to set up your team for more direct style of play. But you can do things like pass into space, hit early crosses. If you're really crazy, you could shoot on sight. But obviously be prepared for a lot of long shots and quite ridiculous shots, especially if you're playing with inside forwards. You can play a deeper line, and you can even close down less and stay on your feet, and this way you're keeping your team shape a lot better and drawing in your opposition so you can hit them on the counter. And it's quite good. It's a decent shout basically. These type of things are a little bit excessive, but they're good. Even going wide, for example, you're naturally wider, but if you go all the way out wide, it's a good shout as well. But yeah, just again, like I said, for the sake of this video, be more expressive, run for positions, more direct, and higher tempos is what we're sticking with. So yeah, before we get into the whole roles and duties bit of the game, we're actually gonna see who to sell and who to keep, and try and make a squad. That way we get we get to know our squad better. That way we can make a tactic better as well. So let's have a look at whether we still have 22 players. I'm not sure if we moved anyone around. We still do have 22, so it's a matter, we have the numbers, it's just let's hope if we have the correct players, I guess you could say, the right amount of balance in the team. If you have 22 numbers but 10 of your players are midfielders, this thing's a bit much, isn't it? I mean central midfielders, not midfielders in general. But anyways, Oblak, definitely your first choice keeper. Miguel is definitely a decent backup, a good player for most division sides. But if you wanted to, you can very much sell him, bring in a youngster with potential. But you have to consider that Jan Oblak is that youngster with potential, so you don't want to ruin that too much. So just keep Oblak maybe, and keep Miguel as well as a decent backup until Oblak becomes that more experienced player, and then you can bring in a youngster with potential who can learn from Oblak. You've got two right backs who are great, Juanfran and Sime, both decent shouts. Juanfran is just a good player, and Sime is a good player, but he does have potential to be leading, so just keep an eye on his potential. If he doesn't fulfill that potential, then you can sell him and bring in someone else. But I do want to mention, like I always mention in all my episodes, I'm sorry if I'm repeating it too often, guys, but it really is a point I want to drill home. It's really tough to get world-class fullbacks, for example, or even leading fullbacks. You have to spend a ton of money, and money you don't have. So it's a bit of a waste when you can spend that money elsewhere, and you're unlikely to get anyone better than a good ability for a fullback. It's really tough to prize anyone away. Teams hold on to their fullbacks like they're diamonds basically. They really don't like selling them. So just be careful. Like for example, if I suggested sell Juanfran because he's only considered as a good player, just make sure that you actually do have a right back lined up that you can realistically bring in who is a leading player. Otherwise you're going to struggle. So the same thing goes with Felipe Luis, who is only considered a good player, but he's your only left back right now, so you wouldn't be too smart selling him. It looks like left back is a position rather that we should try and consider. Looks like your centre backs are going to be your first team, which should be Godin and Jose Jimenez. Should be probably your first choice pairing. Savic is a decent shout, but my guess is he's only a good player, which he is. So you might be better off selling him and bringing in another youngster with potential. Or maybe because Jimenez or Jose is a youngster with potential, you could possibly bring in a first choice centre back who could, a leading player who could play alongside Godin, who's already a leading player as well. Jimenez isn't really, he's got the stars for it, but his current ability hasn't settled, I guess, to know exactly where he stands. Lucas, definitely another player with a lot of potential. Again, you have two youngsters with potential, so it might be smartest to sell Savic and actually bring in a star centre back. But right now, the numbers where we're missing is our left back position. Unless anyone else can play there, then it's unlikely. I guess it says Lucas can play left back, but he really doesn't have the fullback capabilities. He's a defensive fullback. but unfortunately you can't cross or anything like that, and flare and whatnot. But anyways, let's move into midfield. We do want Lucas to stay as the central defender. It's his best position. So let's forget about trying to play him as left back. Maybe if you don't have the money, you can rotate him as a left back. But yeah, let's just move on to midfield. So midfielders, it looks like you can actually consider Augusto as well as a midfielder. It looks like we have way too many, in truth. Yeah, okay, so these are your midfielders, the essential midfielders, and the truth is you've got 6. So you might want to consider selling them and bringing one left back. That's where you have too many numbers. If you're playing the 4-2-3-1, you want 4 central midfielders and 2 attacking midfielders. You've already got an attacking midfielder in Angel Correa, and you could probably play Griezmann there or even Gaetan as an attacking midfielder. So yeah, you've just got too many central midfielders, so try and sell off the weaker ones. So Thomas Partey, even though he does have potential, I would normally recommend to maybe seeing out his potential, but it depends on Augusto. I think you could sell Augusto, he is a good player, so hold on to Thomas Partey. Koke is leading. Thiago, maybe another player you might want to sell. Gabby is good only as well, and so doesn't say yet, but my bet is he's the same as Koke as leading. So you have 2 leading. Koke and Sol are your probably best central midfield pair. Gabby, Thiago and Augusto are the players you should maybe look to sell. You have 7, you have 6 rather, you need to sell 2. So Augusto and Thiago or Augusto and Gabby, try and see which one suits best. Augusto just doesn't make sense to keep. I think he's the worst out of your central midfielders, or out of them all. And yeah, you might be better off selling him. He's 30 years of age as well. So Partey is the one with potential. Gabby is the first choice as well as Koke, and then you've got Sol, who's youngster with potential as well. So you've pretty much got a nice little balance there in central midfield. Not too bad at all. If you're playing the 4-4-2 as well, you still need 4 midfielders anyways. Out wide, you'll be playing with wingers in the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-4-2 either way. So these are your your pick of wingers basically. And it looks like if you are playing the 4-4-2, you might want to retrain Correa either as, you probably want to retrain him as a right winger. He's really good as a winger actually, or maybe as a striker as well. We'll have a look at just if he's good enough as a striker later on. So either way, you've got 4 wingers here. Eliseo is definitely nowhere near good enough for the squad. He's susceptible to injuries as well. The problem is you might struggle to sell him because he is injured. You'll have to wait probably till the end of the transfer window to sell him, but definitely sell him. He's really not good enough. You can bring in a right winger who can actually play there because you've got 3 left wingers. Of course they can play elsewhere, but it's just to try and get everyone playing in their preferred positions. Yannick Carrasco is a youngster, definitely no selling. You have to keep him, try and hold on to him as much as possible. Griezmann already knows good enough, and Gaetan should be good enough as well. He's only considered a good player, but I have a feeling my head of youth development might be a little wrong about this. Basically, just keep an eye on Nicholas. If he's not good enough within the season, sell him and bring in maybe an already established player, or bring in a youngster potential. Depends whether you think Carrasco is good enough, and it depends on who you bring to replace Eliseo as well. But yeah, moving into the striker department, Fernando Torres and Gameiro make a decent striking pair. The problem is both are only considered as good players. I think Kevin should be probably a leading player. It's more likely, but you might want to consider, you have very experienced strikers here. You might want to consider selling one and bringing in a youngster with potential, and eventually, or maybe selling one and bringing an actual a leading player, for example, and then keeping the others back up. But it looks like Kevin Gameiro is very high wages and he's already a first teamer. I really think the head of youth development is making a poor judgment here. Just keep an eye on him basically, Gameiro. But Torres is probably the one to sell. 32 years of age, susceptible to injuries. I know the fans love him. They would be very unhappy if you do sell him. But just, I don't know. I don't like the whole idea of sentimentality. Sentimentality. I forget how to say that word all the time. But anyways, the point is, don't feel the need to hold on to him just because of that. He isn't a good enough player for a team who are trying to be a leading team in the division. You know, let's not forget Atletico Madrid won the freaking title just a couple of seasons back. So, you know, you need to try and keep those standards up and not fall into back into being like a Europa League team or even a mid-table team, because with your finances, you're gonna have to be working on a shoe budget. I guess that's shoestring budget is what they say. But yeah, you need to be very careful, and you do have youngster potential. You can maybe possibly, I guess, sell someone for a crazy amount of money, and then that way you're staying afloat. But yeah, let's not even try and consider that. Angel Correa is definitely a good player for your team, a youngster with a lot of potential. If you're playing a 4-2-3-1, he is probably your best attacking midfielder. But again, you know, we mentioned about Gaetan playing there, or even Griezmann. But yeah, you know, I think now we're pretty much a lot more accustomed to the team. So I think we should probably start off with the 4-4-2 actually. So you're going to want to play wingers without a doubt. You don't want any other type of role here. You're not trying to be a defensive team, so you don't need a defensive winger or even wide midfielder. Wide playmaker is a role that I quite like to see being played out, but again, like I always say, possession-based team is what wide playmakers suit more. So we're sticking with wingers, traditional wingers. And I think if we are playing Griezmann as a winger here, then a winger on attack, fullback on support, a fullback on attack here. I think you should have centre backs who are capable of playing as ball-playing defenders. It's only Savic apparently. So if we are going with a pair of central defenders, that would be perfect, because your first choice central defenders are only capable of playing as central defenders. I've said central defenders too many times now. But yeah, so we'll stick with central defenders. I love to play a pair of deep line playmaker on defend with a box-to-box midfielder, but we have to consider how our team can play. So I'm sure we do have someone who can play the deep line playmaker on defend. We did mention our central midfield pairing. The best one is Koke and is it Gabi? You could go with Gabi or Saul. So yeah, it would be just about who you're playing with them. So box to box, I'm pretty sure they're capable of, but all these players have a lot of vision. This Atletico Madrid team really have a lot of vision, so it'd be a bit of a waste playing them as box to box midfielder. You're better off playing as a roaming playmaker on support. I know it's too many playmakers in central midfield, but the roaming playmaker is like a box-to-box midfielder. He's just a box-to-box midfielder with vision, like I always say. It's an incredible role that I really enjoy seeing, so don't feel the need to change that. It looks like your best bet is a complete forward on support and a poacher. But eventually try and build up to the target man on support. That's what you want to go for, and I would say the same with midfield. You do want to eventually go to a box-to-box midfielder. But yeah, complete forward on support is what we're going to have to go with, and this is how your 4-4-2 should look. The 4-2-3-1's a little bit trickier. You have to try and consider where you're playing Griezmann, Carrasco, Gamero, and Gaetan. You've got like 3 left wingers, so you really need to try and move them around. So if you do move around and say Griezmann's your inside forward on attack, Carrasco is your inside forward on support here. He is left-footed, I think, or is he either-footed? I can't remember. He's right-footed, so even though he's still inside forward here, he's more suited to the right wing, even though he cuts inside. It's just because he's right-footed. If you play an inside forward who's right-footed on the right, he could possibly still score goals for you, but you want to try, if you're playing on the right, he should be left-footed. If he's playing on the left, he should be right-footed, and so on. But yeah, just play Carrasco on the right wing. I think that's the best bet. Maybe he can be retrained as an attacking midfielder, but I think Gaetan's your best bet there. Yeah, he's a decent. Yeah, but his trait is cutting inside, so I think Gaetan cuts inside as well. But he does try the killer ball often, so maybe, yeah, train Gaetan as an advanced playmaker on attack. He can very much do that, and it suits possession-based tactics. You have to play complete forward on support here. I think the team's starting to build itself basically. So wing back on support here to support Griezmann, and wing back on attack to overlap Carrasco. You've still got central defenders here and still got normal goalkeeper, and the central midfield is always already made up for you when you play a 4-2-3-1. I feel a lot of people like to say you can play different roles here. Don't be afraid to be expressive, like in any other defensive, in any other central midfield, makeup. But I really think the 4-2-3-1, just because of how attacking you're being, you've got basically 4 players really pushed up high on the pitch, so you can get exposed anywhere here. You really need a central midfield duo who are defensive, and I feel like the best pair is a central midfielder on defend with a deep line playmaker on support. And I'm pretty sure any one of Koke, Gabi, Sol, any of them are comfortable playing as a central midfielder on defend. And you've got deep line playmaker on support. But if you feel the need to, move away from this and stick to the players, what the players can do best, you can play probably a deep line playmaker on defend again and the roaming playmaker once more. That would probably be quite decent shout as well in itself. But yeah, like I always mentioned, central midfielder on defend and deep line playmaker on support they both hold their position, and that's why they're the best duo for a 4-2-3-1. And always, if you feel like you're being too defensive while you're playing a game, you can actually move on into a roaming playmaker or push one of them up, basically. But anyways, I think that makes our tactics sort out, and now it's time to look at the youngsters with potential. So players to look out for are under 19s. Let's have a look. You've got fair amount of players actually. So up until here is the players to really keep an eye on. It looks like Vieto, Kranveta are players who are ready for the first team. Jota probably as well. Yeah, he's ready as well. They're just being sent out on loan. Even Oliver, for the sake of giving them, making them grow even further, so that when they come back, they're very much suited for the team. Nicholas is the only one who's only second division player, so maybe you can send him to your B team, and that way he's in the second division and still within good facilities and good coaches. Don't consider loaning him until he's in the first division. I'd recommend that in England or Italy or anything like that, but because of the way the Spanish league is made up, your Atletico Madrid B team is already in this. Oh, they're in the third division. Normally, in our previous episodes in the Barcelona Madrid one, they were actually second division. So maybe you are better off sending Nicholas out on loan, and that way they can fulfill the potential. But definitely Oliver, Jota, Nicholas, Vieto, and Matias are all players who can very much slot into your team. Matias would be very good as a central midfielder on defend. Vieto, maybe Trequartista is not the best bet. He can probably play as a poacher. Got a lot of acceleration and pace. And Nicholas, probably the same can be said about him. Poacher would be great. You can maybe try and teach them early how to be a complete forward on support if you are playing the 4-2-3-1, but again, not too good. Diego Jota, he can play a number of different roles. But yeah, these are the youngsters to look out for in your under 19s. And the Atletico B, you've got another bunch of youngsters too. Amath and Theo are very much capable players. Theo, if he is ready for the first team, unfortunately he's not. He's got one more season in him. He would have been the perfect left back who can replace Felipe Luis. He's a defensive left back apparently, but I'm pretty sure with that type of crossing and flair, he can very much be an attacking left back. So yeah, those are the players to look out for. I'm just going to quickly have a look at your strikers again. Complete forward, Gamiero. Alright, so apparently Gamiero is really comfortable playing as a false 9. Now if you're playing possession based, false 9 is very capable of this role and it would be perfect. Your only issue is if you play Kevin Gamiero as a false 9, he likes to beat the offside trap. That's a bit tough. Plays 1-2s though and tries first time shots, is very good for it. But yeah, just maybe you can experiment with him as a false 9. If he's not putting in good performances, play him as a complete forward on support. But yeah, I think that definitely will be all for today's episode. So if you did enjoy it, then of course please do hit the like button and subscribe for more daily Football Manager 2017 content. And as always, thank you all for watching.